Yeah, so sorry about that. If you were listening at home, maybe something got spliced up. We had a little, hiccup technically with our recording, but we were talking about Paul Skenes, who just said about him starting the All Star game, about him pitching tied for fewest starts ever to start an All Star game. I think the boy was going on about something here.
Yeah, yeah. I was basically yeah, I was just droning on basically about going from straight from the draft to the show doesn't happen that much in baseball to
No,
be the next year to be in the show and then to be doing what he's doing at this level is incredible.
yes,
Um I did say last week I didn't want him to start. I wanted I think Reynaldo Lopez to start. But everyone else was like, no, this is the guy. This is the guy to start. He's the biggest name in baseball right now. You have to
yeah.
start him. Which I get it. He's deserving of it. He's been incredible. I just wanted someone with a full half of baseball to start, but that's what I was going with.
Yeah, I mean,
Also, I was gonna also with his outing the other day. I wanted to get your opinion on this, fellas. Do
Mm-hmm.
you do you think they should have pulled him at 99? He just pitched a 6 pitch inning.
I
His
mean,
last inning was 6 pitches.
we've talked about this a couple times now, and like to me, it just I can't help but think that it's asset protection.
It
it always
is.
is.
It always is. But God, when you have that opportunity,
I
and it's
know,
not
but
like it's
there's
you
precedent,
throw.
boy. You had that opportunity. Johan Santana had that opportunity through about 150 pitches
You
for the
don't let him
Mets,
get.
and
Yeah.
that was it. And that was
No.
it. He was
Okay.
done.
I
His
understand.
arm
You don't let
was
him get to that point.
he's literally carrying his arm around like this when he goes places
Yeah. You
because
don't
it's
let him get
dangling
to
by
that.
threads.
You don't let him get to that point. He just had a stress-free inning, 6 pitches.
So
I can put him back out there and see what happens.
Yeah, but then so see what happens, and
And
he
get him to 100.
Plunks guy gives up a home run, and now you
He
take him out, and you're not.
he's on
You
an
can
absolute roll.
argue.
You think taking him out and putting the relievers in for the Pirates is
I
better than
know,
keeping Paul
I know.
Skenes in? Are you
well, so
nuts?
hold.
No,
So
I'm not saying that.
I'm obviously like not the baseball savant that you guys are, but I mean, I'd imagine that there has to be like they're having conversations. They have to be having conversations with Paul Skenes and telling him
No
like
matter what.
what it's gonna, maybe not no matter what necessarily, but like, I think it's one of those things where like Pittsburgh hasn't really been a good organization for a very long time, and now things are finally starting to come together, and I think it might be one of those, the name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the name on the back type deals, because like he's young, his career is blossoming. I mean, it's just, like we've talked about, it's his first year, and he's already doing this. He's going to get his shot, but like let's protect our asset and cash in on a
You don't
good
get
season while we can.
you don't get that opportunity that often to throw a no hitter. You
Yeah,
just
but
finish. You're at 99 pitches. It's not like he was sitting at 120. He can go out there the next inning. And if he let's say he throws 10 pitches, I'm putting him out there to start the ninth.
but
If
but
he throws 20, I can take him out.
the thing is
There's
the
it depends on the stress. Are they stressful pitches
I
or are
understand
they
that.
easy pitches? They're very different. 99 stressful is very different than 99 stress free. I think he could have gone back out there. I understand why you don't put him out there. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean like I said. Another precedent here is Mark Fidrich. I don't know if you're familiar with him. I think the Bird is his nickname for the Tigers. Came out on the scene, just blew things up, was throwing shit tons of pitches, and that was about it. He had his rookie year, and his arm was gone. Um, so there's a lot of precedent for both sides of the argument. I understand what you're saying, boy, um, but I mean, like Colin said, at the end of the day, a no hitter versus a one hitter, and we win both games. You win either way, right?
I think Paul Skenes gave you the best chance to win too. That's also
I'm
where I
okay
come
with
from
thinking
because
that.
immediately the reliever comes in, gives up 2 straight hits, and it's like, oh my god, here we go.
Do you think it's
Yeah,
possible that the Pirates like know something about his drop off point? Do you think maybe like in
No,
there's
I
probably not
think
enough
it's
sample size.
it's
To know
just
that.
yeah, it's just don't want to get him. You
Don't want
get
to get
him
him
around
hurt.
the 100 pitch mark, and you just take him out.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I would have to think in 3 years you let him throw as many as you want. But
Yeah, I mean, they go into each start. They know his pitch count limit, regardless of what happens. So I'm sure it was at 100, and so he ended that inning at 99. And they said, I mean, if he had gotten to 104 in that inning, they would have let him go to 104. So I think it would have stopped the game right in the middle of the inning. But that's what their mark was, 100 or when you get to it, and
I don't
that's
know
kind of
why
what they
we
had.
decide that's the number.
Yeah, no, like Colin said, there must be some analytics that shows, after this, you have X% higher probability to cause some sort of ligament joint damage or something. I'm sure there's something they have out there. There's a lot of statistics in baseball. We love statistics in baseball, and I gotta believe analytics wise, they have some sort of data on that to track because they've had enough years to track stuff like that. So I bet that's why they look at it. But yeah, you're right. It is going to be an interesting story to see what happens, right, with him going forward, especially if he's able to kind of get them into contention. Because we talked about this before, the Pirates got some good players. Brian Reynolds is selected as an All-Star. For my starting lineup, I had him in there. I think Boy, you had him in there as well. And if any of you guys out there saw our All-Star lineups that we posted on X and Instagram, Kamlo didn't necessarily get it, but. Our all-star lineups, we had those guys out there. It is not all every day that you see multiple Pirates in an all-star game. So, they may be building up something. Maybe they go on a run. You don't know, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. The worst-case scenario is that they shut him down, and even more worst-case scenario is that he gets injured, right? And you need him to go out there and take the ball each day because – I could go on and on about guys who your Strasburg's ending his career prematurely. Kerry Wood,
I get it, but
Mark Pryor. There's so many
I get it, but
guys.
I want to know how much this helps because you said it was Strasburg. Yeah. They shut him down.
Yeah,
they shut him down. They did
and that was
when you had a chance to go win the World Series, they shut him down. So how much does this? I would love to talk to some analytics people or some health experts or whatever it is and really dive into how much does it actually help, because I want to go win ball games and he's my best player.
I think the biggest thing is that you're in a routine. I really do. I think that's why we saw Ohtani take off when they took all those stupid restrictions off of him in terms of pitch counts and all those things. We saw him blossom into the player he is because it was set routine and he was comfortable. As long as Paul Skenes is comfortable, that's all that matters. If his routine and he's fine with it and he's comfortable with it, and this is what we're maximizing his potential in, you have to roll with it. If you're looking for something more.
Rookie. He's a rookie right now, so he hasn't gotten to that point where it's Max Scherzer out there telling the manager, "No, I'm staying out here."
Yeah, but I think it's like you said, that there's not enough evidence out there. We don't have enough sample size. We don't have enough of what he's done because, like you said, he hadn't even been in the minor leagues for a whole year, right? So you just don't know, and you don't want to. You don't know what you don't know, right? The old saying goes. So this is all a learning situation for everyone in the Pirates organization of like, what do we do? We gotta, like Tom said, asset management, asset protection. We've got to make sure that he is there.
So
forever.
Right? Did you happen to see the interview with Derek Shelton after the game?
No.
I've been doing some supplemental
Pirates
research,
manager Derek Shelton.
Yes, Pirates manager Derek Shelton. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I haven't been doing research this whole time you guys have been talking.
I can hear the clicking.
Yeah, thank you. I don't even know what to say to that. So they obviously reporters are going to ask him, why'd you pull him 6 outs away from a no-no? And he said, like I looked him in the eye and I could tell he was tired, so I made the call. It had nothing to do. His exact quote: "It didn't have anything to do with pitch count. It was about trusting your eyes." He goes on to say that, like looking at him, like Skenes' demeanor looked a little different, and when he went over to talk to him after he pulled him, he realized, oh yeah, this kid's tired, right? So I mean, we could speculate, like, is that maybe like, is there a reason for him to lie about it? Is there a reason for him to say it had nothing to do with pitch count when really it might have had something to do with pitch count? It could be, we could come up with any number of wild conspiracies about it, but I mean, I think that I would feel comfortable saying, like, knowing what I know about Paul Skenes and the Pirates organization and like what this kid is doing, and like hearing you guys testify that like Paul Skenes' gas is effortless, like we said weeks ago. I would feel comfortable saying that like a no through 6, 7 could very well just become the norm for this kid,
Yeah, I mean,
right? There's no way this is his last opportunity.
Well,
I
it's just these guys are so. You're right. It could be the norm, but these guys are so home run swing heavy that it's kind of like what Scherzer was like. Almost any time Scherzer would take the bump, like, man, he can punch out 15,
Mm-hmm.
and then he gives up like he always gave up a solo home run somewhere.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
Part of that was because he was attacking. He was always on the attack.
Attacks.
Skenes does attack, much like CC Sabathia. None of them were afraid of a home run. I'm going to come at you. I'm not going to pull a Baltimore Orioles and throw Aaron Judge 4 straight pitches that are 24 inches
Don't
to
start
6 feet away from the plate because I'm so afraid of him.
Don't start.
Max Scherzer would never do that. He's rolling over in his grave right now watching those games.
Max Scherzer is very much alive.
What do you
He
say?
He lives in Arlington, Texas.
This is why we're doing this, to honor his memory. May he rest in peace. But
ate a chicken before every game.
But
chicken man.
Yeah. Last thing on Paul Skenes before we go on to some more baseball, and kind of going off of what Derek Shelton's comments were, as someone who's made pitching changes, pitching decisions at a very microscopic level compared to this. Talking about the tiredness, that is something that your players better. You see them in practice. You see them throw bullpen sessions. You see all this stuff. You're more in tune to that than the average fan is. So you can see that. And again, as someone who's made pitching changes and seen that live, it is more evident to you than anyone else who's out there. And you can tell, even though the kid comes off the mound, you're like, yeah, good job, kid. You got through that jam. The kid's like, I feel pretty good. Like, you just tell. Like, maybe just a tick off on his fastball. Maybe it doesn't explode out of his hand. Maybe there's just he spent extra time on them. There's so many cues that you're in tune to as the manager or the pitching coach that other people aren't. And so even though he's still able to rack up the radar gun at 99, like, so even if it's not even stressful pitches, you can see stuff that's different. And like, so maybe Common, like you were saying, maybe it was a cop-out answer, right? Because, people who have, understand that, he knows his player better. Or maybe it is genuine that he does. He's seen him in practice. He's seen him throw bullpens. He's seen, him at a more, acute level than we have. And he's making that decision based off of, I'm responsible for this kid. It is also different when you're responsible for the health and well-being of other people and other people's children. Like, it's different. So, and lest we forget, Paul Skenes is a man, but he's still someone else's kid. He's still pretty young. So you don't want to damage this young man's career if you have just an inkling of a doubt that, hey, he might be laboring a little bit. I'm going to take his butt out. I don't care. I will, you can't risk that. You'd rather, lose the game with a different relief pitcher than watch this kid get hurt on your watch. So, it is kind of a situation. And like what Shelton said, you do have to trust your eyes a lot of times. So you get caught up in the statistics and the analytics and the giant stupid ass board that Joe Girardi used to have in the dugout to like determine when to make pitching changes. You get caught up in that a lot, but sometimes you got to trust what you see. And it sounds like Derek Shelton is trying to trust what he is seeing out there on the field. The next thing I had baseball wise, I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is a Detroit Tigers reference. So this is for all those people listening in Guatemala. Because they're all Tigers fans. But the Tigers scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 9th on Saturday against the Dodgers to tie the game. Colt Keith, great name, by the way. He hit the game-tying 2-run homer off of Dodgers closer Evan Phillips to send the game into extras, tied at 9-9. In extras, Gio Urshela, former Yankees great, hit a walk-off 2-run homer in the bottom of the 10th inning for an 11-9 victory. So if you're keeping track, I believe that is 7 unanswered runs in the span of 2 innings, which is nuts for that Detroit win. The last time the Tigers won a game when trailing by 5 runs in the 9th was in 2016 versus the Rays. Also of note in that game, Shohei Ohtani hit his 200th career home run. Kind of a cool game up there at Comerica Park.
Yeah. Oh, you know what happened after that game? So like the Dodgers blow the lead or whatever, and I saw like after the game, it goes straight to the post game stuff. I think it was like Fox or FS1's post game.
Yeah.
I don't really remember who was the comment, like the analysts and everything, because they were just terrible. But basically, they were like, "Should we be worried about the Dodgers? I'd be worried after that game. I would be worried." I'm looking, and I go, "Let me just make sure we're talking about the same team." And I look up their standings, and the Dodgers are 7 games up on the Diamondbacks in the West. Yeah, they've hit a little bit of a rough patch. In their last 10, they're 3-7, but
What was Skip Bayless on the desk for this?
that's
What the hell?
oh my god, it might as well have been. I guess
Yeah.
it's just what they're teaching nowadays. Journalism, whatever
It's called Doom Speak.
Oh my god, is that what it is?
Because
everybody hates.
That's the portmanteau word is Doom Speak.
Good
like sandworms and Timothy Chalamet.
Not Dune.
What was that?
Oh.
Zendaya, whatever her name is.
Zendaya. Get it right. She's an American treasure already.
Mm-hmm.
She America's sweetheart now. But yeah, I was listening to those clowns talk, and I was like, what are we doing here? Come on, people. This is baseball.
Total buffoons.
There's 162 games. You blow one lead to the Tigers, and all hell breaks loose.
Well, it obviously wasn't Derek Jeter talking, because
no, it wasn't him. It wasn't them. It wasn't that group. It was a different group in studio. It was not the Jeter group.
It was, speaking of blown leads, we do have another one that is on the positive end for our Washington Nationals, who we're all kind of sympathizers for. We may not be Nats fans, but we root for them, the hometown team. So they're playing against the Brewers, so this is a rough segment for Milwaukee, but they were down 5-0 or 5-0 after the first inning, and the Nats, staged a comeback across all the innings to get themselves back into it. And in the top of the ninth, CJ Abrams, all-star shortstop, by the way, hit a go-ahead 2-run home run to put them up 6-5. And then in the bottom of the inning, Lane Thomas, right fielder, made an incredible leaping catch at the wall to end the game, seal it. If he doesn't make that catch, the Milwaukee might actually win. They were going to at least tie it if he doesn't make that catch. So a game-saving catch in the bottom of the ninth was pretty awesome. The Nats announcers lost their mind. It was so fun to just listen to the highlight and see that. But yeah, our Nats still they went on a little streak. They kind of fell off here going into the break. They're still probably a couple years away, but it's good signs to see them win games like this. It's good signs to see guys like Lane Thomas and CJ Abrams, guys who you might think are the future out there. Keibert Ruiz at catcher, who's another big piece. See those guys kind of show up. Nats might need a little more pitching. Mackenzie Gore, Josiah Gray, some of those guys to step up, be more consistent. Is Hunter Harvey their closer? Boy, I think he is. He's a fireballer if I've ever seen one. So they've got pieces. They got some really good pieces. So I think the Nats are on their way. Nice to see them pull off that fun win in Milwaukee. The next thing I got here is the White Sox. There are not many bright spots on the White Sox this year. This may be the only one they get this year. But pitcher Michael Kopech, he threw the season's first immaculate inning over the weekend, or last week, I think it was on Wednesday. What's cool about this immaculate inning is it was to end the game. So we did it in the 9th inning to close out the game against the Twins. Sick. It's the first White Sox immaculate inning since 1923, too. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Explain for the audience what an immaculate inning
Yes,
is.
Thank you. I was hoping someone would ask. Immaculate inning means that you strike out all 3 batters on 3 pitches. So you throw 9 pitches in the inning. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, out. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, out. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, third out. And so basically meaning the minimum number of pitches to give up 0 contact. So thought that was kind of cool that Kopech pulled that off.
Oh, by the way, Nick, the closer for the Nats is Finnegan.
Oh,
Kyle Finnegan.
Kyle Finnegan. What happened to Hunter? Hunter Harvey, I think, used to be there.
Hunter Harvey has 0 saves. He has 0 saves on the year. He has
Oh, is he on the
two.
Nats still?
It looks like he blew 2 save opportunities. He's on the Nats.
Oh,
Oh, is he injured?
He's
Or is
pitched
he?
45
Because
innings.
okay. He's kind of I would think if you're looking for future, he's someone who could be a trade piece then. Because he's nasty. He's kind of wild, but boy is that.
He's on. It looks like he's on the Royals now.
Oh, is that what happened? He got traded.
Next game, yeah, that's what looks like happened.
Okay, so I stand corrected. That's a good trade.
I'd have to go
Royals-wise.
because I click on I click on his name and it takes me to Kansas City Royals, Hunter Harvey, but every stat
He
says
might be.
Washington
I
Nationals.
actually think I saw a competitive balance pick in the draft.
Oh, is that what
because
happened?
of a Hunter Harvey trade? So I think
So he just got traded then.
Yeah, that might have happened. But yeah, he's pretty good. I think the Nats, you know what you said, Kyle Finnegan is their closer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got 25 saves on the year.
nice.
Hey, the Nats are playing pretty decent ball, which is good to see. Next thing on here on Saturday, Bryce Harper, former Nat, homered against the Oakland, Sacramento, Las Vegas A's in the Phillies win, and it gave Harper a home run versus all 30 major league teams, which is pretty amazing. I thought that was kind of a cool stat to see. And you know, a lot of ways Harper has been overrated, but in a lot of ways he's underrated, especially with the impact.
Whatever do you mean, Nick?
What I mean is that he had so much hype coming into his career that we all thought he was the second coming, and he was good, and he's been really good, and he will be a Hall of Famer, but he hasn't been Mike Trout. He hasn't been Ken Griffey Jr. He hasn't been Willie Mays. He hasn't been who we thought that was going to happen. And so that's where he kind of got a lot of flack and kind of got, you know, dumped on a lot and was voted a lot of times by the players as most overrated. But in a lot of ways, it's kind of like flipped where he's been so consistent that it's hard to say he's overrated because he's led the Phillies to this success, unprecedented success sometimes for Phillies. Like I think this year, there's best start in franchise history, and he's been the leader and the catalyst for that. He switched positions. He's played a great first base. This is
his best statistical year since his MVP year in 15.
Yeah,
I believe.
And that's the other reason, too, that he got a lot of flack is he's so inconsistent. That MVP year is such an outlier. I mean, another thing, too, is his, you know, he didn't drive in a lot of runs, and he was playing on some good teams. And so it was almost like, well, you know, what's he doing runners in scoring position when it matters most? Things like that. So there were a lot of nitpicky things. And I think the change of scenery for him to go to Philadelphia, even if it's a division rival, doesn't matter. The change of scenery helped him a lot. He's kind of matured and become a true leader. I mean, he's become Philly. Like, he's beloved in Philly now, which is a hard thing to do, you know, in Philadelphia, right? Their fans are so brutal. They got that tunnel from the Holiday Inn, you know, to the stadium. So, you know,
Philly fans will hammer you, man.
Yeah.
They'll hammer you.
All that riot punch.
His MVP year from a couple years ago, he has almost the exact same statistics as Aaron Judge does at the All-Star break.
Oh, wow.
For the whole year?
For the entire year. It's almost identical.
Yeah. I had one more thing before I segued into Judge and the Orioles. So that's a nice teaser there, boy. The last thing actually stays with that Phillies A's series. The next day on Sunday, the Oakland, Sacramento, Las Vegas A's, they hit 8 home runs as a single team in that game, and their 18-3 rout of Philadelphia. That's the most home runs in a game by one team since 1999, when the Cincinnati Reds hit 9 against the Phillies, oddly enough. The record is 10 homers in a game by a single team, which was the Blue Jays in 1987. In that game, Lawrence Butler of Oakland had 3 homers himself. Brent Rooker, who should have been an all-star, was in my starting lineup. He had 2 homers. Seth Brown had 2 homers. And Zach Geloff from
UVA.
Thank you. Zach Geloff from UVA added a grand slam late in that game for the eighth home run. So kind of cool to see for a team that, you know, it gets a lot of attention for a lot of negative reasons. I see the boy has his Jose Canseco jersey. Speaking of negative reasons for attention.
Yeah, right. Right?
What a great era of baseball.
Oh boy, yes, yes, it was. Why can't we go back to that? Because it was terrible, on the whole terrible, but it was amazing. So not nice to see a positive for the Oakland, Sacramento, Vegas A's. On Saturday, also speaking of the Yankees and Judge and Soto went back to back homer wise in a win versus the Baltimore Orioles. That allowed Judge to set the Yankees franchise record for most homers before the All-Star break at 34 home runs, which is asinine, to be honest. I think he has almost 90 RBIs. I think it's 84, 86 RBIs,
I think.
something stupid. But the record he broke was previously held by himself in 2022 when he set the American League home run record, or the real home run record in a single season, and was also tied with Roger Maris in 1961, who set the previous home run record without cheating. That brings us to Sunday, that Yankees-Orioles series. And the Yankees in the top of the ninth against closer Craig Kimbrell scored 3 runs on Ben Thrice's 3-run homer against Kimbrell to take a 5-3 lead. But then in the bottom of the ninth, Clay Holmes, who has been kind of on the struggle bus of late, erratic control-wise, which he is wont to do at times because of how much his sinker moves. But he allowed 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth to the Orioles. I think Cedric Mullins had the final blow that gave Baltimore a 6-5 lead, but 6-5 win to walk off the Yankees. But more importantly, it put Baltimore in first place in the AL East heading into the All-Star break. So that was kind of a big swing. I mean, 2 huge swings, right? I mean, think about the Yankees had a chance to go up a game or 2 into the break, and instead they find themselves behind. It's a massive swing. It's like in golf, if you bogey the final hole and your partner birdies it, it's just a giant swing in the matter of seconds. That's kind of what it felt like, but big for Baltimore to have that. Next thing here, last night at the Home Run Derby, Teoscar Hernandez, who I picked to win the Home Run Derby, like to put that out there. There's documentation on that. Yes, he became the first Dodger to win the Home Run Derby when he defeated Bobby Witt Jr. in the final. Thought that's pretty cool. I love Teoscar's swing. That's the reason I picked him. Is so to me fluid. He doesn't leak. He doesn't pull off. He doesn't always try to pull the ball. He lets his hands be the guide, and he's very powerful too in it. So he doesn't have to do extra stuff for a guy who's really not that huge. I don't know. I've just always been a fan of his swing. So that was the biggest reason I picked him, is I thought it was perfect for getting consistent contact and lift on the ball. And he was barreling some stuff up. There were some stretches he went on where his exit velos were 107, 107, 109, 111, even on balls he wasn't hitting out. So pretty good show he put on. Pretty good show from everyone out there last night at the Home Run Derby.
I like the new format too.
I do too.
I think it makes it faster.
Yes,
right. To pick the top, get the top 4, because last year's head to head, bracket style format throughout, I thought was a little tedious and hard to watch, and just kind of got droning in spots. But I like this new format.
I do too,
and they did a good job with it.
There's a lot of baseball purists out there that hate it, because they're let's just go back to the 10 outs. And there's a reason why we stopped doing the 10 outs. It took forever. It wasn't enjoyable. I get you want to just see where it lands.
It was enjoyable.
Josh Hamilton.
That was the fun part.
Josh Hamilton was enjoyable.
Yes,
maybe
it wasn't like he would hit.
Those are the only 2 that were
just kind of dragged.
That dragged, right?
Yeah,
even someone that he at the time set a record for most home runs in a round. We're it's taking forever. So there's a reason why they went to the time format. I like what they did this year. The only negative is there's a lot of pressure on the pitcher to do only 40 pitches. I like the time. I think it should be 40 swings or maybe 35 swings or something. It's a lot of pressure on that pitcher.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of an important part of it,
It is.
I always like watching to see who they pick, right? Gunnar had his coach Buck Britton from Norfolk come throw for him.
Norfolk.
Yeah. But I like the storylines that come out of like who they pick for their pitchers. I like the strategy of getting to use like knowing when to use a timeout. Although everyone it looked like was aiming for that 130 mark.
I mean, it makes sense.
And then, but I think my only note that I would like to see changed for next year, push the distance back for the bonus balls.
Yeah, but it's only a bonus out. The distance doesn't matter that much anymore. It's just one bonus out in the bonus round. It's pretty minimal. I don't think it makes. It doesn't make.
Well,
you could say it theoretically does make a huge difference because you technically can hit an infinite number of home runs in the bonus round because it's not timed. It's based on outs.
Yeah.
So if you get an extra out there, you can make that whole argument go down that whole rabbit hole. But I don't think I thought it made an Alec Boehm and a Jose Ramirez more competitive. Where in the past, Alec Bregman talked about it before when they had those bonuses. He was like, I can't do this. I can sit there and put balls out, but I can't hit a ball 440 feet. Like I just physically can't do it. So I don't know if I can keep doing this competition. Jose Ramirez is squarely in that boat. He's not a big dude, but he's such a great hitter. You saw how many balls he put out in the past. A lot of times when they were kind of doing that rapid fire thing as well, and you got those extra bonuses. And the bonus time he would have been eliminated because someone would have racked up.
What if
26, 27? He couldn't get that because of the distance. So I don't have an issue with it.
What if instead of having like an additional out, what if you just did a distance requirement to get bonus pitches in the first place? What if it was like you hit you hit 3 pitches over 425?
No, because that's what they used to do.
Bonus rounds.
That's what they used to do, and that's why they got rid of it because that's why Bregman was like, I can't compete because I will never get the extra outs because I can't hit a ball that far. So that's why they got rid of it and only made it. You just have in the bonus round. You just have to put 1 over 425, and so they made that bonus pretty difficult to get. Right? It's not like every guy got that bonus. They didn't. So I like the fact that they also the way they did it. They combined both eras of home run derby. You had the timed portion, but then that bonus section was like the 10 outs that we were used to growing up. Right? You could sit there and take all the pitches you want. You could have sat there but you didn't do 10. You did 3. And I thought that was a really cool way to kind of incorporate all that stuff. You could have seen someone go in a Josh Hamilton type heater in those bonus. And I think you might see that in the future. I think that just guys were still so caught in swing mode that they were, or maybe they didn't even fully understand the rule either. I think
Todd Frazier didn't sound like he...
The Todd father didn't get it. Bobby Witt, I don't think get it. Bobby Witt swung at a couple horrendous pitches during the bonus rounds. It was like, why? Just take it. But Teoscar Hernandez, to his credit, was taking pitches. He would get up there and be like, all right, give me 2 pitches. Let me see 2 pitches. Let me get my timing. And I'm going to swing at the third one if it's there. If it's not, I'm going to take it. Because he knew. And again, give Teoscar credit. One of the reasons I picked him is I've been a fan of his. I've really enjoy the way he goes about his approach at the plate. And I love his swing. So kind of cool to see that. But I don't know. It's always a fluid situation, the home run derby. You just don't want them to do things that ruin it because it is the best all-star event in any sport.
Yes. 100%.
It really is. And it is always must watch. It is always an event I circle on the calendar. And it's always a lot of fun. Yeah. Any more baseball stuff before we move on to...
I got a couple things with baseball-wise. Last thing with the home run derby, I was going to say it's the first time I really saw Bobby Witt Jr. But his bat-to-ball skills are elite level. I am so excited to watch this guy play for the next 10 to 15 years. I think he's Mookie Betts level bat-to-ball skills.
He's fantastic. He I feel like I had to mention him before, but I think and I don't understand why he doesn't get the talking that other guys do.
It's just because
he's on Kansas City, which is kind of ridiculous considering the Royals in the last 10 years have won a title.
I think you'll see. Yes, 2015. I think you'll see him get more talk a little bit, like probably next couple of years, just as their team gets better. They started last year. Team's been horrendous, so they're starting to get better because of Witt as a big deal.
But every year of his career, he's had a 20-20 year. I think last year did he get 30-30? He might have.
I'd have to.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Anyway, with the last thing with baseball, the draft was Sunday.
I left this for you, boy.
Yeah, I
purposely didn't write it down just so you could say it.
Yeah, I was tuning in. I wanted to see where my guy JJ Weatherholt from
West Virginia. By God, Virginia. Excuse me.
He ended up going 7th to the Cardinals, which I think is a great fit.
Yes.
The Cardinals, like he doesn't chase. He's a bat to ball guy. Elite speed. They were talking. He may have been the best pure hitter in the draft, is what I heard a lot. But the first overall pick, Travis Bazzana, he's the first overall pick from Australia, which is pretty incredible.
He's an Aussie?
Yes, he's not. You didn't hear him. I guess you weren't watching, but yeah, listen to him talk. He's an Aussie. He's, I think, the second first overall pick from Oregon State in the last 5 years.
Behind your boy Comlo, you know who that is?
What was the quote? Sorry.
Oh, that's nice.
The last first overall pick by an Oregon State.
Oh, didn't we talk about this?
You should know him.
Last overall pick from Oregon State. Just tell me.
Adley.
Oh, yeah, okay. There it is.
Yeah. So he went number 1 to the Guardians. But what I liked about the draft is that there wasn't a consensus number 1. If you looked at any mock drafts, you had none of them were the same. From 1 to 9, you had Bazzana, Kaggs, Condon, Burns, Weatherholt, all looking at that number 1 spot. It was a pretty wild thing for baseball. But anyway, I thought the best fit of any team was Condon to the Rockies. This is the guy that won the Golden Spikes Award, which is the Heisman Trophy of college baseball. He hit some like 40 home runs in college this year, which is insane. Goes to the Rockies. I thought that was a great fit just because you play in that thin air in Denver. You got a guy that hits the ball in the air. I thought the best overall player in the draft was Kaggs, Jack Caglianone, as we like to say. I thought he was the best overall player. He dropped to, I think, 6 to the Royals. But there is, I did think of a comp for Kaggs that I think you will like, Nick. And it just popped in my head watching, big power lefty bat. A name we haven't mentioned in a while, played in the early 2000s.
What, Jeremy Burnitz? Travis
Hafner. Travis Hafner. Yes. Oh, it's amazing that you got that on the second one.
That was going to be my first guess, to be honest, but I wanted to throw a Jeremy Burnitz reference out there for all those Mets fans.
Travis Hafner had about...
Hafner, I hardly know her.
He had about
Pronk.
3... Yes, Pronk. He had about 3 years that were amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did. Lean into that pitch.
Hit 42 in 2006. 308, 42 with 117. That's a year. So I don't know why, but like Kaggs, just watching him up there, I was like, I don't know why this reminds me of Travis Hafner. I don't know where I pulled that out from, but yeah, that's all I got on the draft. Sorry, one more of the draft. I forgot about this guy. Goes to the Phillies in round 2, pick number 63, and you may be thinking, why do we care about this pick? Well, This guy Griffin Burkholder, who got drafted, is a local product for us. He's from South Riding, Virginia, Freedom High School.
No shit.
Hey.
Yeah, he was actually committed to West Virginia. So I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm like, oh, he's not going. So he obviously is not going to play for West Virginia anymore. When you're picked that high, you go play. But yeah, he is a Freedom High School graduate. That's pretty cool.
Couple other news and notes from that draft. It was the first time in MLB Draft history that the first 8 picks were all from college, which I thought was amazing. Yes. Travis Bazzana was the first ever second baseman taken number 1 overall, which I thought was amazing. And your boy, JJ Weatherholt, is the highest drafted West Virginia Mountaineer ever.
Yes.
I thought that was kind of cool.
A lot of second basemen. Bazzana, Weatherholt, Moore.
I think Christian Moore.
I love Christian Moore.
We love a little bit of Christian Moore out here. But I think part of it is the fact that your middle infielders athletically, the way they profile, you think you can play them anywhere and that they're your best athletes on the field. And so the second base where it used to be you just kind of threw your Stephen Veshis of the world out there.
I played shortstop. I played shortstop.
I know you did. It was a blatant cheap shot. But where you used to kind of throw your
Nick Puntos.
Yeah, well, we love some Nick Punto around here, but yes, right. You throw guys like that out there, because they defensively can handle it. But nowadays, with the athleticism that's on display, your middle infielders, because they're asked to do so much shifting wise too, in the ground they have to cover. Your second basemen are, in a lot of ways, just as athletic. They just may not have the arm strength. So you're getting an athlete that you could teach that guy left field, and that's a big reason you're getting it. Whereas that first baseman, you may not be able to teach him. There used to be a lot of guys that be first, left, and right would be their positions, but you don't really see that anymore. More that what you see is the second baseman, like your Chris Taylors from UVA, playing second, short, third, left, center, right. You see more of that. The Ben Zobrist is really the first one to do it. He deserves more credit baseball-wise. Ben Zobrist. D-Row did play a lot of positions out there. But you see more of that. D-Row was, I think, a shortstop, right? And moved, second, third.
Was he Princeton?
Penn. He was also their quarterback, which is amazing.
That's right. He was. I forgot about that.
He's a tremendous athlete. But yeah, you see more of that now as opposed to let's draft the first baseman and teach them right field. So let's draft Christian Moore, and you know what? We can teach him right field. Mookie Betts did it. Mookie Betts went second to right, to center, to short, back to second, back to short. You see more of that. And I think it's because the athletic profile of these guys, the position demands it, where it used to not. It used to be kind of you don't have to cover as much ground. There aren't as many lefty hitters. So I think that's why you see it. So a couple cool things. Anything else before we move on?
Nope. Good breakdown, boys.
Jobin.
Yep. All right, that's going to take us to golf. All right, we're wrapping up our baseball segment brought to you by Bobo's Fine Chicken in Virginia Beach. And we're going to take us to our golf because last weekend, pretty cool for golf, but this coming weekend, kind of a bigger show. But golf-wise, start with the Scottish Open, which is always the big tune-up that the PGA men's players go play. But the Scottish Open was won by a certain Mr. Bob McIntyre, or Robert McIntyre. He had a one-stroke victory over Adam Scott. He drained a 22-foot birdie putt on his final hole to beat Adam Scott, which is pretty amazing, especially because Bob McIntyre is from Scotland. He's the first Scot to win the first Scottish person, so not to be confused with the aforementioned Adam Scott. He's the first Scottish person to win the National Open since Colin Montgomery, 25 years ago, which is kind of cool. Elsewhere in the golf world, Live Golf was in Andalusia in Spain. And talking about winning your home open, Sergio Garcia of Spain won Live Golf Andalusia in a playoff against Anirban Lahiri. Sergio, we saw him come low. We have remarked about how not good he looked, but he's had some pretty good results. He lost earlier this year in Mayakoba in a playoff to Waco Neiman. I think he's been close before earlier this year. So he's been playing a little better than what we saw. And so this is kind of a big breakthrough for Sergio. It was his first Live individual title. His Fireballs, which is the team he's the captain of, they also won the team portion in a playoff against the Crushers, which is Anirban Lahiri's team, but their captain is Bryson DeChambeau. They won in a playoff. And it's the first time both the individual and the team titles and Live were won in a playoff, which is pretty remarkable. So kind of cool to see Sergio get going a little bit there. On the senior tour, and no, this is not Cosmo Kramer. He didn't make it there because, Sue Ellen Mishke. But Ernie Els
hurt his shoulder.
Yep, hurt his shoulder. Not the left arm. Stan, not the left arm. But in the senior tour, Ernie Els, great golfer, 4 majors on the regular tours, but he won his first senior major ever at the Cowlig Companies Championship at Firestone in Akron, Ohio, which is where George just went to stick it
Flying all the way to Akron to sing a guy.
Yep. Let's see how many shrimp I can fit in my mouth.
Hey, George.
But yes, the jerk store called. Yeah, thank you.
They're running out of shrimp.
Yeah. Well, the jerk store called. They're running out of you.
What's the difference?
You're their best seller.
Thank you. Yes, we won't get into the rest of that funness. But yes, the jerk store did not call for Ernie Els. He took away a one-stroke victory over Y.E. Yang to capture his first senior major. So I thought those things are kind of cool.
You're requesting snow tire day at Yankee Stadium?
Oh my god.
As long as they don't throw him on the field.
Good for Ernie Els. I like Ernie.
Oh, I love Ernie Els. He's one of the best swings, if not the best swing ever. The reason they called him the Big Easy, it's effortless. Always making solid contact.
Still got it.
I mean, it's a reason why
he's a big dude too.
What? Big Easy. He's like 6'5", isn't he? He's like huge.
Yeah.
It's just effortless. Just right down to the ball, making solid contact. I mean, there's a reason. I believe his first and last majors were almost 20 years apart. He won in '94 and won in 2012. Those were his first and last majors because of that swing. I mean, the consistency to be able, like, he's not putting too much effort in. He's not getting hurt either. Because that's the thing, we see, Tiger's gone through a lot of injuries, and part of that is there's so much violence in his swing. There's no violence in Ernie Els' swing.
Ernie's just, like, natural. Like, his body type is, like, super supportive of that, right? I mean, we've talked about this in, like, baseball pitchers and other types of athletes who just have, like, mass to, like back up, like, that power consistently. And, like, Ernie, 6'5", but, like, he's definitely, like, cultivating mass.
Stop cultivating, start harvesting.
He's cultivating, harvesting, reaping, and sowing, baby. Ernie Els.
Yeah. Last thing golf-wise is that you may or may not know, but this coming weekend is the Open Championship, or used to be the British Open. I don't know why they changed that.
Tennis?
It will always be the British Open to me. But the Open Championship being played at Royal Troon over this weekend, the fourth and final of the male majors this year. Who you got?
Oh, who do you want to go first? Kamala,
who you got?
Give me. I've been, like, bouncing back and forth between two picks, but I think I'm gonna go with Tommy Fleetwood. I'm gonna go with Fairway Jesus. I think he's due, and I think playing across the pond will be good for him. He's somebody that I've been rooting for a while. I think he's just been knocking at the door fairly consistently, enough so that, like, I'm going to be paying special attention to him come tee off time.
I like it, boy. Who you got?
I've got
in Scotland.
One of my favorites, Tyrrell Hatton.
Oh, great pick.
It's another English guy. So I like the Fleetwood. I like the Tyrrell Hatton. Grew up on Links Golf. He's currently sitting at 28-1. It's Fleetwood's at 25.
Wow, that's not bad.
No, that's
pretty good.
Yeah, he's right up in there. Right up in there.
That is pretty good.
Just right up in there,
Just gotta break through that ceiling.
Yep. So before we got to this, like weeks ago, I had my eyes on Ludwig Oberg, from Sweden, and Bob McIntyre. But after last week's results, as our resident expert Nathan Bursack pointed out, if you check out, I'll post his picks probably tomorrow. But as he pointed out, success in the Scottish Open doesn't always translate. And I always thought people were going to pick Bob and you're going to pick Ludwig. And I don't like being the person to pick the popular person, because I think it's more likely it doesn't pan out, especially in a sport like golf. So I'm going to go with Cam Smith. I'm Cam Smith to take home his second Open Championship. He has been playing deceptively good golf. He hasn't been winning, but, man, it always just feels like he's been in the top 10, top 20 of every tournament this year. All right, and so I'm gonna pick Cam Smith to get it done.
He is currently sitting at 50-1, so
50?
good value.
5-0?
50. Yeah.
Can we call up our resident gambling degenerate AJ Pittis and put some for
I'm
us?
sure he's up to it. Yeah, he can.
Now, can you just place the bets for us? Is that possible? Does he have any Quaaludes? Got any ludes out there for AJ? But anything else from the golf?
Hey, real quick. We gave our picks for who we like for the tournament. Give me a take on who you think is making a brunch reservation for Saturday.
Brunch reservation for Saturday?
Who's not making the weekend?
As in not making it?
Yeah, who's not making
I was
the
gonna
weekend?
say we are Kamala. We have a brunch reservation. Jabroni, I thought you were calling me out.
You know someone that I am definitely gonna throw out there is John Rahm. I think him going
the same.
I think him going to live has just completely messed up his routine and everything. He just seems miserable. I think John Rahm is gonna be making. He's gonna be eating tapas.
Okay. Yeah, like his master's dinner. Ugh.
Yep.
Okay, you got John Rahm, Nick. Who's on the outside looking in?
I'm gonna go with Patrick Cantlay.
Ooh, good pick. That's a really good pick. Okay. And it's not even really like I don't really think this is like a good, like, I don't think anyone's gonna be surprised, but I think Wyndham Clark outside looking in.
Yeah, he's been struggling. I like Wyndham Clark, but this year, like last year was the year of Wyndham. This year, not so much. So he's been kind of on that.
What's going on with him? Do you think it's like
golf?
Do you think it's some full swing? Some full swing is just kind of getting to his head a little bit.
I think golf is just so freaking difficult, and the margins of error are so small. I mean, it's so small. It's why Ricky Fowler's never won a major. The margin is so small. He's been plenty good enough to do it. There's no real reason that he shouldn't. It's just so difficult.
He's a wild card.
He's a wild card. He's cutting the brakes out there. That's what he's doing. He's going to cut the brakes. We're going to see it roll off the tarmac. I don't know. I like Hovland. I like him as a golfer. Just don't know if I see it happening. Now we're going to move on from golf to our final segment. If that's okay with you, gentlemen. Our final segment is always our favorites segment, and our favorites is sponsored each week by One Legacy Title and Escrow in Jacksonville, Florida. Visit them at onelegacyflorida.com to see how they can help you with your next closing. Follow them on Instagram at One Legacy Florida to learn more about the importance of title inspectors and title insurance, as well as many other helpful real estate tips to kind of aid you in your next home buying experience. One Legacy Title and Escrow, because your legacy matters. This week, we, in honor of Wimbledon, the fortnight that it is, we went with our favorite tennis players of all time. I had no category. Could be male or female. It doesn't matter. Could be from any country, but just favorite tennis players of all time. So who would like to start us off?
I'll start.
All right, boy. Did you actually pick tennis players?
I did pick tennis players. I do have
an honorable this time.
I do have an honorable mention that I think all of us probably picked. Milos from Seinfeld. He's too good.
Too good?
Too good?
Too good. Sorry, I didn't have it queued up.
That's all right.
Some issues over here. Dealing with some issues over here.
Yeah, you're fine. All right.
Number 5. You have an issue? Here's a tissue.
I used to think you were crazy, but now I can see you're nuts.
Thank you.
All right, anyway. Starting at number 5. I'm trying to be as superficial as I possibly can. Maria Sharapova.
All right, Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer.
We're up to a hot start here.
I think that was every boy that grew up in the 90s, 2000s, that was their like first crush after Wendy Peppercorn. So Maria Sharapova at number 5. Number 4, the always lovely, always calm, John McEnroe.
You cannot be serious.
He also has a great Mr. Deeds cameo, which I absolutely love.
What kind of driving is that? You're a fucking disgrace.
Johnny Mac. There's no one else like him. All right, moving on to number 3.
Thank you.
I am going with an Argentinian tennis player, Diego Schwartzman.
Good name.
Yes. I remember watching this guy and I was like, well, he's very not tennis like build. 5'7", 140. Yes, he's 5'7", 140. Lightning quick.
Yes.
It was like watching like Nate Robinson like play in tennis form. Just getting to the ball and everything was incredible.
You know what was always fun is when he would play Isner. Isner-Schwartzman matches were like legendary because
6'11" versus 5'7".
Yes, but it was like strength on strength almost, right? Because Isner could like pinpoint serves and hit the ball so hard, but Schwartzman can get to everything. So it was always a grueling physical match. Those matches were a lot of fun, and it was amazing. Schwartzman, I felt like, came out on top more than Isner did, which shows his like guile, his just like kind of, you know, let me get the job done. I'm a big Schwartzman fan. He almost made my list, but I digest.
Yep. Anyway, number 2, I went with Roger Federer from Switzerland. I feel like he was, us growing up, it was like he's the best male tennis player, in my opinion. That was what we kind of was, just smooth playing. He was one of the first people to play as long as he did, to get into that like late 30s age bracket playing tennis. He has 103 titles, 20 Grand Slams, and he's made a whopping $130 million in his career.
Not including endorsements.
That's not. Yeah. That's strictly prize money. Yes, that's not including endorsements, which I believe he's a Rolex guy.
No surprise there.
Yeah.
Shocker.
And then number 1, I went with the Joker, Novak Djokovic. There's something about him and his fire and his passion and everything he does and just embracing who he is. I love the Joker. I'm a big fan. He has 17, or this might be an old thing. This definitely is old because he's got 24 Grand Slams. 24 Grand Slams is way old. His prize money is probably like close to 200 now.
He's won a lot of money.
He's won a lot of
titles.
Yeah. He may be the greatest ever. Arguably. I don't know. Federer, Nadal, Djokovic,
Serena. Those are pretty much who you.
Serena.
The four.
Yes. I was looking at just the men's side. But yeah, those guys. But I love the Joker. Big fan.
Yep.
I'll hang up and listen.
What a list. Going to be some similarities here, folks. So, honorable mention. You might remember him from such movies as Mr. Deeds. Is Johnny McEnroe, man who needs no introduction. Johnny McEnroe. Number 5, one that I was surprised you didn't have when you were going for superficial, is Caroline Wozniacki. Wozniacki, awesome tennis player, great career. 4th female player to ever eclipse the 30 million career earnings mark. 11 consecutive years of winning at least one title in the Open era, which is awesome. A feat that was only done by, I think, a couple others, most notably probably Serena. Caroline Wozniacki, number 5. Number 4.
Do you know who her husband is?
Who's her husband, Nick?
NBA champion David Lee.
There we go.
Knicks Warriors, power forward center, lefty from Florida.
He's a lucky man.
You fooled me.
I thought the boy would know that name. That's
number 4, my man Andy Roddick, another guy who needs no introduction, I believe. Like, growing up in like the Federer Nadal era, watching Andy Roddick serve, I think, was unlike anybody else. I always loved watching him serve, the power that dude got. Andy Roddick, number 4. Number 3, Naomi Osaka. I thought this girl was just a cold-blooded killer. And some of her antics, like post-game, were always really funny to watch, too. Naomi Osaka, number 3. Number 2, actress, endorsed by many different companies. You might remember her for making Every Shot a Power Shot. Maybe if you have a little sweet tooth, you could indulge, back in the day, you indulged some of the Sugar Pova candies. Entrepreneur, wonderful tennis player, Maria Sharapova.
By the way, you know how tall she was?
She was like 6'6".
She's 6'2".
oh. Yeah, I was gonna say 6'2" to 6'3".
Whatever. She was. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember when I was first introduced to her as a tennis player, and not the girl from the camera commercials. I was getting my haircut at Tuffy's in Leesburg, and I had this old senile barber, and this dude would say the
Uncle
weird
Enzo?
stuff. No, older and weirder. He was cutting my hair. He had probably Wimbledon on TV, and it was one of Sharapova's matches. And little kid, I have nothing else to do. I'm getting my haircut when I don't want to get my haircut. So this guy's cutting my hair, and it's like, you see that lady playing tennis? Yeah. the really tall one? Yeah. And I'm thinking he's going to hit me with some, like, fact about tennis. This old creep leans in and goes, could you imagine those legs wrapped around you? And my dad like quickly changed subjects to like a picture of like the stealth bomber that was on the wall, because I'll never forget that. So anyways, Maria Sharapova, number 2, and number 1 overall, it's got to be the Joker. I think the guy just draws a crowd. I think everything about him is electric. We've got to witness an amazing career by Novak Djokovic. I do believe we saw the passing of the torch here at Wimbledon this year, but I do hope he keeps competing, because I love watching the dude compete. We talked about him last week, kind of highlighted like that, like, psycho competitor mentality that he has. And I think that's something that I think all 3 of us could appreciate in any athlete, right? We bring up Jordan, we bring up Kobe, you bring up Novak Djokovic in that same conversation, because the dude is just a psychopath. But I love it, right? I think it speaks volumes to just like the level of competitiveness that the guy has. So that's my list. I'll hang up and listen.
All right. Thank you. My list will bring some new flavor into this, some different people. I got a couple honorable mentions. The first one is Francis Tiafoe. He's a local guy. I don't know if you know this. He's from outside of D.C. in Maryland. Is it Silver Spring, Chevy Chase, Bethesda, one of those towns, but that's where Tiafoe's from. He's been I believe a major finalist at the U.S. Open, won some good runs. He's come into some bad luck recently, but I always love watching Tiafoe, his compete level and his ability to a lot of times rise to the challenge. But we hope we see improve his rank. He's kind of fallen rank. He's like in the top 30. He was like top 15, top 10. So hopefully he can get back up there. My other honorable mention is Juan Martín del Potro from Argentina. He may have the best forehand of all time. It was a true weapon, like a guy who would purposely run around the ball to get to his forehand, because he just was mashing it snail that hard. But if he hadn't had so many, wrist, elbow injuries, he may have pulled off some other stuff. He's one of the few people who ever won a major in the Federer-Nadal Djokovic, Murray era. One of the few people who wasn't them to win a major. So Juan Martín del Potro is my other honorable mention. Number 5, I have Simona Halep of Romania. I don't know why I always thought she was a bulldog out there. Very much like the Carlos Tevez with his bulldog-like approach. I knew you'd appreciate that comment.
Carlos Tevez reference is crazy.
Yes. Yeah, but I don't know. Halep, I always enjoyed watching her play. She, I believe, was able to break through and get her major. It felt like too with Halep, she always got close and never got over the hump. And part of me is just always rooting for that person, who is getting there. And she finally got over that hump. So that was really fun to see and good to see for her. So she's always been a favorite of mine. Number 4 is Stan Wawrinka of Switzerland. In the same boat as Del Potro, he's one of the few guys who won anything during the time of Nadal and Federer and Djokovic. And Stan, I believe, has 3 majors, which is bonkers considering that there's only like 3 guys. I think it's like Stan, Del Potro, and Marin Cilic who won majors during the height of Nadal, Federer, Djokovic. Right? It's nuts. So for Stan to get 3, I think is amazing. I've said it before. He may be the most underrated tennis player of all time. The fact that he has multiple majors playing in that era is crazy to me. I've been a big fan of Stan the man. Number 3 is Roger.
Is he like the Tim Duncan?
I could go with that. That's a good comparison. I like that. He's multiple time champion, but just no one ever brings him up. He's always. I mean, he's still grinding it out. By the way, I think he lost in this Wimbledon to Gael Monfils, who's another guy still grinding out there. Who he's a great player for his time and could have had some more titles if it weren't for these, Federers of the world. But yeah, Stan Wawrinka number 4. Number 3 is Roger Federer. It sounds really weird to say that, but he played with such grace. I think
you can't have a little grace.
Thank you. You either have grace or you don't. But his movement was so fluid. It looked like he wasn't moving fast, but he was always moving so quickly and was always in the right position. He just made it look easy, and I think that's what a lot of people appreciate is that he made a sport that at times can be difficult look simple. And I think that's one of the reasons he was such a great grass court player was that he has the most Wimbledon championships of all time. Number 2 is Danielle Collins from
UVA.
Thank you. Danielle Collins from UVA. She's a former NCAA champion. She's having her best year of her career this year. Is going to represent the Team USA in the Olympics, which is amazing. She claimed back-to-back titles this year at Charleston and Miami, I believe. And I love the way she plays. She is very fiery and is very direct. She's always on the attack. She's always trying to push the envelope, and she wears her emotions on her sleeve. And the fact that she's doing all of this in her last year, she said she's going to retire. Right? She said she's done. This is it. This is my swan song. And the fact that she's producing her best results ever, I love that. I love going out on the high note. Danielle Collins, I love watching her play. And my number 1 is John Isner. John Isner, 6'10", 6'11". His serve is one of the best all time, and not just because of how tall he is, but his accuracy. And boy, you know this when you watch a Randy Johnson out there who's 6'11" and he throws the ball so hard, but you still have to locate, right? And so if you can locate with that, you take away some reaction time because of the length that you release at it, that velocity. And it's the same thing with Isner. He takes away your reaction time with it, and it's amazing. Some of his best results were at Wimbledon because the ball kind of skips off that grass, so it takes away some of that reaction time on the serve. And if you're able to pinpoint, you're dominant. And the one thing I admire, or 2 things I admire most about Isner. One is he went to college. I believe played at University of Georgia. I think he's a Bulldog. Mm-hmm. And at the time, and throughout most of the history of tennis, it was said that if you go to college, you kiss your career goodbye. Like you're going to play college and that's going to be, you're going to be done. You can't progress. You can't succeed at the pro level if you go to college. And Isner at the time when he was ranked in like the top 10 was the only person in the top 10 who attended college at all. He's still some of the only people who ever be in the top 10 who went to college. And he kind of broke that mold. And there's more and more people like Ben Shelton, who's a big up and coming American, big lefty server. He's so athletic. He's so fun to watch. He was a champion at Florida. Guys like him wouldn't exist without John Isner. And the other thing I admire most about him is his demeanor and his competitive level, and just the level of not quitting his game was so American to me. That the fact that he was able to win that longest match ever at Wimbledon was so American to me. Like that just never give up. Let me find a way to win. That the match spanned 3 days, right? That the match is nuts, right? So for him to win something like that, and then I remember I think he wound up on the losing end of another match against Kevin Anderson, in like a quarter or semifinal at Wimbledon, took the whole day. He just never gave in. He never gave up, never gave in. It did not matter what happened out on the court. He always found a way to dig deep, and you were going to have to beat him, and you're going to have to earn it. And a lot of his matches went to tie breaks because of his size, he didn't move the best. So, you could never break his serve, but he could never break you. So it would always go to a tie break in every set. But John Isner was just, I don't know. I loved watching him play. I could watch him serve all day. It was, perfect. Like a Mariano Rivera cutter was John Isner's serve. It really was.
Nice. Okay.
And that's my list.
Nice. Good list.
Anything else?
Solid.
Yep.
No.
All right, so that's gonna end our favorite segment. As we said, it's always sponsored by One Legacy Title and Escrow in Jacksonville, Florida. Visit them at onelegacyflorida.com to see how they can help you on your next closing. Remember, One Legacy Title and Escrow, because your legacy matters. That's also going to take us to the end of our show this evening, or again, wherever and whenever you're listening to us. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for tuning in. A big shout out to our sponsors, Main & Co., Bobo's Fine Chicken, and One Legacy Title and Escrow. We really appreciate you guys, getting our name out there and helping us. We appreciate, again, all of our listeners out there. We're always open to comments, suggestions, all those different things. Visit us at WCMEsports.com. Follow us on our Instagram, X, Facebook at WCME_sports. Look for new episodes. They drop every Wednesday at noon. So be on the lookout for that stuff. As always, be decent to each other. Have a good one. We'll see you next time. And don't forget, take care, Guatemala.